with a specific topic, or how is that going to go?
Just the one topic we're going to talk about, but we'll branch it out because we're all good like that.
Yeah.
So, everybody, welcome to tonight's podcast. Look, man, I decided tonight to call the Avengers. I was like, look, I'm going to make some phone calls and just kind of bring everybody together and make a super podcast. And again, these are all people I've had on the show before, so they're going to share like awesome insights and wisdom. So this will probably be one of those podcasts where you won't get to hear me talk as much. You'll get to hear them talk and hear about like their experiences with dating and how to have a peaceful partner and not a perfect one, which I think is phenomenal. So we'll probably go from right down to left, down to right. So Christelle, I'll let you introduce yourself. Go ahead, take it away.
Well, thank you, Michael. Yeah, my name is Christelle Campbell, and I recently started a YouTube channel called Aquarian Crossing. I decided to take on the challenge of putting myself out there and sharing my views and my experience and some of the knowledge that I've acquired over time, and as well share insight about relationships. So that's what brings me here today. Thank you.
That's awesome. Vante, it's all you, man.
What is up? I'm Vante Poems, aka It's Vante Poems. And I'm just here to kick it back with I'm gonna say family, because I don't think I'm a guest anymore. I think it's all love.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, so you guys know Vante's a singer. He's actually produced like music and songwrites, and so that's what he's done like some crazy shows here in our area. He's released some albums, has merch out. Like he's pretty well known. Like he does rapping and singing. So you know what I mean. If he sings in the middle of the live stream, you'll know why. Jillian, go right ahead.
Yes, Jillian Shimp. I split up with my ex-husband about 2017, and I wanted to learn what I did wrong, what I did right, what I could learn to have a better relationships in the future. And I kind of became obsessed with relationship information and started to learn everything that I could possibly learn. And some of the information out there was not so great, and got me into a toxic relationship listening to some of the information, but that's okay. You live and you learn. And so I just kept going. And one of the things that happened is I was in some groups with women, like dating groups. And women started reaching out to me because I was quite active in some of the groups that asked me for help. And I thought, oh my goodness, maybe I can really help people. And so that just kind of got me thinking about being a coach. And, that was 2017. And now I've created a coaching program, helping women with their dating and relationship issues, helping them move through whatever their blocks may be that are blocking them from finding love, and learning self-love along the way. So yeah, that's basically what I do now. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I love it. And all these people that I've brought together, like they all have like relationship expertise, I would say. Sorry, guys. They all have relationship expertise. So I'm the only single one here. So I'll be learning a lot from them, which is like insane. So the reason why I picked this topic today is how to have a peaceful partner over a perfect one. It's because everyone's out here trying to look for the perfect partner. They have like a crazy checklist that they saw from a Disney movie, or like fantasies from 50 Shades, just some type of weird thing. And it's actually keeping them away from actually receiving what is best for them. So even myself, I realized that in my younger days, I was looking for perfection. I was like, I'm perfect, not like as in the sense of like my looks, but like character-wise, I deserve perfection. But then I realized that through searching for perfection, you never find it. And it wasn't until I got older, until my 30s, that I wanted more of a peaceful partner than a chaotic partner. So if anybody wants to take the floor, they can go first. If anyone's like, yo, like, let me dig into this. But, I see some itchy trigger fingers. So I feel like Vante wants to say something because he's been married for a long time. So you guys all know on the platform. How long have you been married for, Vante?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. August would be a complete 10 years.
10 years. This guy's been
Yeah.
married. So why don't we dive a little deep and then we'll go in and then we'll get Christelle's opinion, we'll get Jillian's, but why don't we dive in when you were looking for a partner, Vante, were you looking for perfection or were you looking for peace?
Was I looking for perfection or peace? I guess I don't know what I was looking for. Let me be honest with you.
Wow, okay.
I was 20 years old. I just left my mom's house, just got my first apartment. I guess what I was looking for was love, just plain love, companionship. Whether it was perfect or whether it was peaceful, I guess that wasn't the first on my mind. I got really lucky, to be honest, though. To be honest, got really lucky because it is peaceful. I'm not saying nothing's perfect. Matter of fact, it ain't always peaceful. But far as the relationship as a whole, these past 10 years has been great.
And I like that. So pretty much you had no idea what you were looking for, but peace fell into your lap.
Yeah, actually what I wanted was reassurance. So a little background, I'm adopted, and I was in the foster system till about 8 or 9 till I got adopted. So I guess what I was really looking for was, someone to say you love me constantly. I guess. So
and she did that? Did she do that for you?
Yes, but not in the very start. But I was very brutally honest. I said, and I quote, "I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a relationship. I really like you. I don't want to waste my time. Let me know now." And
and how long did you do that? Was it a week? Was it a couple months?
3 days, maybe, after texting and adding her on Facebook and poking each other.
See, guys, and again, I want to get your female opinion here, but that's a G to me. He stepped to her. He said, "Look, we've been talking for 3 days. I'm not here to waste my time. I'm not looking for a girl best friend. I like you, and I want you. What's up?"
Facts.
And she was like, "I like you too." And that's how men need to start moving.
Yeah, I put her on the spot. To put everything in context as well, like I said, I just moved out of my mom's house, and there was another instance where she lived in Canada and I lived in New York. And another situation where I had to be brutally honest and was like, "Yo, I'm getting my first apartment, and I would really like for you to come live with me because I don't think we're going to last if I'm just out here living by myself. I don't think there's any way." And within 2 weeks, she was in New York.
Wow. You see, man, you're just giving me so much here. I like that because that shows me that a woman who knows how to surrender. She's like, "This guy's amazing. He's great. I'm going to jump on a plane. I'm going to go." None of that.
I'm gonna interject. I wouldn't even say I wouldn't say surrender, because what that showed me was it was more powerful than anything. During the time she was going to school, she was living with her parents, and she had a nice little Tim Horton that's at a gas station job. But for someone to show me that they love me in a way where they were showing up in instances where I thought was deemed impossible.
Wow.
That wasn't surrendering to me. For me, that was just showing up, fighting, fighting for what she wanted. And I was willing to fight too. Like we would have to meet. We would have to meet halfway.
I like that. That's the thing. Like you see, like she was just like, "I'm gonna follow this guy."
Oh yeah.
And she did the work. And I really like that. So I don't know if there's anything that either Christelle or Jillian want to add to that.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like well, what I like about your story is that you were really forthcoming. Like you're not really honest, but you spoke your intentions to her. And the other thing that I like is that you just didn't tell her off the bat, because there still seems like there was a qualifying to it. Like you wouldn't just say to anybody, you obviously liked her and there was a connection.
Right.
And she was willing, both of you were willing to take a risk.
That's a fact.
To be together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it's awesome. And actually this is the kind of mentality that, because I more speak to like women over 40, and this is like the intention that we should have. I think it's amazing you had that way back then, and you were so intentional about it, because like for me, way back when I met my husband, I don't even know what you would call it, but it was just kind of going along without really being conscious about the choices that I was making. Now I'm very, very conscious about the choices that I'm making, but way back then, it's so different. And you were so intentional. So that's almost like an anomaly, because when I was that age and met my ex-husband at like 21 years old, I wasn't really thinking of a lot of stuff. My decision making was only based on that he was showing up for me, and I was really just saying, okay, well, that's the kind of man that I'm supposed to marry. But I wasn't really thinking that's the only concept I had. That's the only concept I had, was he's doing all of the right things. There were some things that I wasn't thinking of and that I wasn't conscious of at that time. So when we're a little bit older, hopefully with a little bit of coaching and some self-reflection, we can really consciously make the choices about who we're getting involved with, because it can end up really not peaceful if you don't know what you're getting yourself into. That's for sure.
Right.
I love that. So Christelle's been in a relationship for a hot minute. It's been like what, 16 years?
Yeah, it's been 16 years.
Yeah. Wow. So when you, at that time, were you looking for a peaceful partner, or were you looking for a perfect partner? Did you have the understandings that you've had now when it came to your mate selection? Because the fact that you've been with someone for so long is outstanding.
Yeah, I would say I'm more like Jillian. You didn't really know what you were looking for. You're just kind of cruising along.
Okay.
You're kind of cruising along. You have an idea of kind of what you don't want, right, through certain experiences, but it's not very clear what you're really looking for. But because we've been together for so long, there's been peaks and valleys, right? I don't think any relationship is ever perfect. I don't think it depends. Okay, you could say it's perfect if you accept that it's going to be imperfect, right? So it's all about how your perception on how you define the words, which we could discuss how we define perfection and peaceful. But like Vante was saying, it's not always peaceful either, but it's how you handle and how you navigate the peaks and valleys in the relationship, and how dedicated you are to the relationship and your partner.
Right.
Because it's not always going to be easy.
Yeah.
I guess I will be the one anomaly, because I do believe in perfection. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say why. Nobody's perfect, but that person might just be perfect for you. You see? So to some degree, there's a little bit of perfection.
If they're perfect, there's something wrong. That's all I have to say. That's like a red
character.
Yeah.
But more as a sense of, think about it this way. No one's perfect, but that person's perfect for you, because your person who you've been with for 16 years, he's not perfect, but he's perfect for you. Yes. Because you've been with him for so long. Yes. And we could say the same thing about Vante, and we could say the same thing about Jillian.
But perfect, I'm going to be honest with you. Of course, that sounds good. That sounds great. But perfect also alludes that there's no room for growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double entendre,
but
right?
Growth is how you build, or how you set foundations. And
yes.
and whatnot. So if you go in thinking this is the perfect relationship, then you're holding a person to a standard at 24/7.
And that person wants to change over time, and then you're basically holding them hostage for someone they were.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely.
See, that's why I told you guys I would learn something today. Like, I'm learning things today. Like, I'm being put on the spot. Because you see, I can't really compare to their experiences, like, because in my 20s, I was just running around. That was my 20s. I ran around, I partied, I clubbed, I have funny stories to tell. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be in a relationship. I just didn't know how to be. That was my Achilles heel. So I would get opportunities to be with people. I would be with them, but it was never successful because I didn't have the tools that I have now. I didn't know how to vet a partner. I was like, oh man, as long as she's good looking and we have a fun time, we are going to ride this roller coaster till the wheels fall off.
And then the wheels fell off.
Exactly. And then the wheels fell off and then the roller coaster crashed. And then I'm sitting at the bottom. What happened?
What happened to my perfect ride?
Exactly. What happened to my perfect ride? And that was my 20s. And it wasn't until my 30s when, you go through a little bit of heartbreak, you go through some things that you start to say, I need to change the game plan that I'm using. This one's not working. Yeah. So I try to speak to younger audiences or many people that when you're looking for love or you're looking to date, you need to be intentional.
Yes.
And it was something that I never had. So when I hear Vante's story about how direct he was, I didn't have that. Right. But now I do. I make my intentions very known. So, and I think when you do that and anyone can chime in, you're either going to pull in the right people and scare off the wrong ones.
Well, totally. Everything is about the intention of why you are doing something. It's like this is probably a little bit off topic, but like,
go ahead.
Should a woman cook for a man? And so there's different perspectives that you can look at this. Well, what's your intention for doing it? Are you cooking for him because that's who you are authentically, and you're just like cooking? You're like, hey, come share a meal with me. Or are you cooking for him? Is your intention to make him like you? Because that's a totally different energy, if that's not authentically who you are, you're not a cook, but you're trying to cook for him to make him like you. That's a whole different intention. So yeah, I just going off of being intentional. I think being intentional and then saying, okay, why am I doing this thing? What am I trying to do here? And then is this like authentically who I am to be even doing this? And I like that as a measuring stick when you're dating. What's the intention? Is it authentically me? And if it's off, then don't do those things, but it's not about you shouldn't cook for a man because that's a bad thing to do. Don't do anything, or for a man, don't cook for him because then you're going to look like you're desperate. You know what I mean? Now, if you're doing it to make him like you, yeah, that's probably going to come off energetically desperate. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, and you know what? We can go there because again, this tonight's podcast is about us branching into different venues. So if we want to go, because from what it sounds like is what you're talking about is unconditional love, and we can discuss if all of us agree on it, conditional over non-conditional. So what she's talking about is if you're only doing things to get love in return, that's transactional love. You're saying, well, I'll cook you meals and I'll pick up your suits and I'll do X, Y, and Z for you, but you need to give me something in return.
Yes.
Or you say, I'm just genuinely like this as a human being. This is who I am. I like to cook. I like to clean. I like to take care of my person.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ball game.
I like that energy. That's a peaceful energy.
Yeah. So any one of you guys can jump in. Vante, Estelle, any of you guys can jump in on the topic of, should love be conditional? Is it conditional or is it non-conditional?
Mm-hmm.
And I put the songwriter on the spot for a reason because he writes songs about this stuff.
Oh, do I? Oh my goodness.
He writes songs about this stuff.
Whether it should be
Uh,
His
conditional.
next song is going to be "I'll Only
You know
Love You
what?
If You Cook for Me."
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll answer that question. But speaking
Yeah.
on the cook for me, I did have a little note there. Nowadays, as far as like the new generation, I don't think there's so many gender roles. Even with my wife, if she cooks a lot during the week, she's gonna let me know, hey, when are you gonna hop on the stove, or
Mm-hmm.
when are you
Okay.
going to do the laundry, or you know what I mean? And then I gotta step up. So as far as conditions go, you know what? There has to be conditions. As far as if you're in a relationship versus you're in a marriage, I think there should be conditions.
Ooh.
If we're here to grow, we're here to heal together, and as long as you're growing, I'm not gonna say with, because everybody grow at their own pace. But if you're not trying to grow or you're not trying to heal, it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, and you're still chasing whatever you were chasing 15, 20 years ago, then you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, me and my wife, we're still going strong. We have two beautiful daughters, but if I'm being honest, I do believe in divorce. I do, and don't get me wrong. I love wifey so much that I'm gonna try whatever I can. Say that she ends up being addicted to whatever. Oh, I'm doing whatever I can to help her. Whether it takes 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. But if it's to a point where I know you can't be helped, or you're not trying to help yourself, or it's even deeming my way of life or the kids' way of life, that's a condition for me. you know,
Wow.
because everyone happiness does matter. So if you take care of your happiness, you're supposed to take care of your happiness. I'm supposed to take care of my happiness, so that when we're together, there's no toxicity. And if there is, if you're having a bad day, that you come talk to me. You don't throw it at me. You don't put it on me. Let's talk through it. That's a condition. You
Mm-hmm.
know, things that nature. Let me know how to love you. Come talk to me. How was your day? You can vent to me. But if you're having a bad day and that's another thing, I make sure I don't come home with work problems, or I start fresh. If I'm mad, she would never know it, especially if it's at work. But if I am upset with her, oh, she's the first to know it. But not in front of everyone. I would come home and talk to her, hey, at the grocery store, you kind of yelled at me. You know what I mean? I don't know if I really appreciate that. But if I would have said it at the time she did do it at me, I would have blown up, and maybe my reaction would have been a little bit more than what I think it should have been. That's a condition. You can't just be out here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. I want
No,
to.
no, no,
That's
no.
great.
You're good.
That's good.
I think I see what you're saying. Like, you can't be
Yeah.
out here just acting a fool.
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah,
can't
of
just get
course.
into a relationship or a marriage and say, "Oh, okay, I've made it. I'm done now."
Right.
I like that. Christelle, is there anything you want
Yeah,
to
I
add?
just wanted to ask a question to Vante.
Go
When you
ahead.
say conditions, do you mean more like boundaries
Yeah, I would
instead
say.
of conditions? Like
Yeah.
you're doing boundary setting, which is kind of a condition, but you still love yourself and you love the other person unconditionally, but through unconditional love, sometimes
Yeah.
you require to do challenging things
Right.
because you love yourself enough and that person enough that you know what course of action is required, and it's not always a pleasant action, right?
Yeah.
So that you're respecting yourself
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
process, but you're also respecting the individual, because usually I associate unconditional love is is taking action that's in a loving way for both individuals, but sometimes like loving, like unconditional love is like a parent, right? Sometimes a parent, to show a lesson to a child, it will not necessarily give the answers or let the child make a mistake, or there's certain ways that a parent will address a situation and it seems cruel, but you love them enough to be there for them without doing it for them.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
It does,
Yep.
yeah.
It's
No,
necessary.
I agree with you, because I think there's two types of loves. I think there's love where it's like, you know, it's nice, it's friendly, it's fluffy. And then there's tough love, which requires you sometimes to step into a space where you're going to have to enforce a boundary, and they might not necessarily like you in that moment. You know what I mean? And I think any relationship that we look at, and I love that, like, you guys all touched on it. The fact is, there is going to be conditions in a relationship of boundaries that are not crossed. You know what I mean? I think you can kind of do the best of your ability, as Vante said, to help someone if they get into something funny. But like when they start becoming disrespectful, like, and everybody has their own things. That could be the girl staying out too late. That could be the guy going to naughty clubs. That could be anything.
Yeah,
but
it could be,
I think
I'm not going to put up with somebody blocking me and unblocking me.
Yeah, exactly. Like those type of toxicity behaviors, there's a level of boundaries, because I think everybody, and we can agree on this and have this topic, has their limit of what they're willing to deal with.
Yeah.
Love or no love.
That's a great point. I think before anyone, and I wish someone told me this before I even got married, and before going in any relationship, especially a marriage, you got to know yourself, love yourself, and self-care has to be a must. You know, you should be going into someone else's life already healed or in the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what you guys saying all that sums up why a lot of my relationships failed in my 20s. I didn't come healed. I was broken. I didn't know how to enforce boundaries. Neither did the partner I was with. So, and I saw what that looks like, what those relationships look like when no boundaries are enforced. It's literally the Wild West.
Yeah.
You guys get into fights. No problems get resolved because you focus more on the love instead of correcting the behavior. You say, well, I love you and I care about you. And you say nothing about the bad behavior or what was said during that fight. And then you try to like minimalize it or try to forget about it and say, well, loving you is more important. But it's like at the same time, we also need to view the behavior. So I know myself when I went through like all that phases, and it drove me stir crazy why relationships would end or I'd be in situationships, I think is what they call them now, the new gen. Nothing was able to stick. But again, I didn't have the self-love and self-care that I had like for myself now that I didn't have for myself before. And I do agree, without that self-care or being able, I would say this, being able to walk away is the biggest form of self-care that you can do. I'm not saying walk away when things get tough right away, but when you've done everything within your power, within that relationship, without like, as I would say, self-sabotaging yourself or compromising your well-being to be with them.
Yeah.
I would say there's a little bit of strength in you walking away, because if you have to compromise yourself to be with somebody, I don't think that's really a relationship at that point. That is like something else that we need to explore now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's I think that's probably a bit of a balance that some people probably have some trouble with, because obviously if you're in a relationship, that means you're going to be compromising on some things. You are going to have to get to know your partner and get to know what they want. And that means you're going to be giving. And so, just to make sure that you're not over giving or overdoing something to the loss of the self, So that's where the self-love, I think, comes in, and knowing thyself so that you have something to go, okay, like a bumper pad. Okay, that's a little bit too much. That's not right. That's not right. But without that self-love, you can definitely be taken advantage of, and those relationships can end up in a really painful place. So definitely not
That's
peaceful, that's
true.
for sure.
That is true. Anything you want to add, Christelle?
Oh yeah.
Your
Sorry,
mind is
when you
pondering. I
started
can see
talking,
your
my train of
mind.
thought.
I can see
Yeah,
your mind
I was in a train of
pondering.
thought. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to go back because I was thinking of what Jillian was saying. That's why. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to add, sorry, Kim, is a really important element to a peaceful relationship is communication. Learning how to communicate. Yeah, that's been, for me, that has been challenging, because I've always struggled with expressing myself. So, but now that I've done more self-development, I've done a lot of growing. I've really not pushed myself. It's that self-love. I love myself enough to be to self-express, because that's an area that I struggle with. And the more that I practice, the easier it gets. And the more that I've worked on that, the more I've had success with my relationship, and the better our relationship has, like, it's come a long way, right? Because now I'm expressing myself, and he understands, how I feel and my position.
Yeah.
So that's brought in a lot more peace, and that my partner doesn't have to guess
Yeah.
how I feel
Yeah.
or what I'm thinking. And then it also prevents resentment as well, when you don't feel heard.
It gives you a chance. It gives you a chance too to see who your partner is, and
Mhm.
are they going to honor that we are feeling beings, especially as women. I mean, we feel a lot, and we want to be our true authentic selves, want to be able to express how we feel. And so, that's a good marker for any relationship. If you're communicating something and expressing it, especially if you're expressing it in a way where you're like, I gotta say something, but you're letting the person know that you love them very much, and you need to get something off of your chest. And how are they going to handle that communication as well? Is this a person that you can even work with? Because a lot of people, like you said, Michael, they're just not healed. And when you try to express something, even if it's in a positive way, they might lose their shit on you, or not be able to take that situation and go, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. She's not blaming me. Okay, how can I honor her in this moment? And so that's I just love that you said that, because it's like it's if we can't communicate, we can't have a peaceful relationship. It's just impossible.
Well, I love that you guys have all brought that up, because you guys have opened a door, which we're actually going to discuss on this podcast. We all talked about communication, and I'm going to ask Vante, and then we're going to get everyone's opinion. Everyone says communication is important, but we have to ask ourselves, what does that look like when everyone communicates differently? Nobody communicates the same.
True.
So again, Vante, what does communication look like to you?
Communication to me looks like recognition. So when we're talking or expressing our feelings, it's good to voice whatever's on our heart, but also in the same breath, I think while we're communicating, I think we also should recognize if your spouse is maybe is putting 70% of the relationship that week, or you know what, she did put a little bit of effort this week when we were cleaning up the house, or so I think I should try a little harder. And you know what, I apologize for the way I was acting. You deserve a little bit more respect. That's what communication looks like to me. And I think when you do things like that, and she well, I have to talk personally, she feels seen, and also it helps me out. She respects me a little bit more, and then she goes in, you know what, you're right, maybe I overreacted, we'll figure this out.
I don't think a woman is going to bring peace if you don't do exactly what you do with your wife. And then she's like, he sees me.
Yeah.
And then she relaxes, and then she's so willing to give you what you need, and around it goes, rather than you not seeing her or hearing her. And then is she going to give you what you need? No, she's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Mm.
And before, one last thing
True.
I want to say about communication for my part is communication is not always with your spouse. Communication is also with yourself. And I think that doesn't get talked about enough. And what I mean by that is, for me, I'm an artist, so I get inspired by the most littlest things. Um, there was a show on Netflix, for example, called, I think it was called Love, just called Love. And it was about these two in a relationship, and the girl was smoking hot, and the guy was more so nerd looking. And it was a TV series. But you know what? The guy worked hard to be the man, I would say the man she wanted. But in the same case, she worked hard to be the woman he wanted. And he always questions himself, like, why does she love me? You know, what's so special around me? I mean, what's so special about me? When I'm around her, I could be myself. Um, and I think when I saw that episode or the whole show, I said the same thing about myself, you know, like, why did she come to New York? Like, it just right off the bat for that. Why did she get married, or why did she choose to get married to me after 6 months of knowing each other? What is it about me? So I always keep that in my mind when I'm doing things or doing something nice or out in public, especially knowing in this day and age, the girls wouldn't do half the things my wife did to make sure the relationship lasts. So I do whatever I can to make sure the relationship lasts, with communicating with her and always recognizing areas where I can improve on, based in, you know, looking at mentors, looking at other relationships, or just looking at TV shows, like, oh, I could learn from that, you know. So
I like
Awesome.
it.
Did you ask her to marry you after 6 months, did you say?
oh yeah, yeah. So we've been married 10 years. We've known each other 10 years.
I like that. Christelle, what does communication look like to you?
Well, it's very similar to what Vante is talking about. I think what I could add is, as well as, is how it's delivered. You know, some people might think communication like, yeah, I yelled it at her, like I told her, right? I think it comes back to, you know, when you're communicating, if you can do it in a calm way, so that it's received by the other person. And the other thing is don't wait too long to say what you have to say, because then that, say, like, you know, as it's happening, not like in the moment, just say, hey, like, I had a moment to think about it, you know, I didn't like this, or this is what I like. You don't want to wait too long, because what can happen is you can, you know, get frustrated with the other person, or angry or resentful, instead of expressing as it comes and dealing with it as each event occurs, right? So and as well, you know, sorry.
No.
Yeah. I'm saying a lot of sorry. Ooh. Yeah, so it's just more the delivery of it is really important. And as well, what Vante was saying is, like, you know, using other examples, like if you see other people delivering and say, hey, they did it like this, okay, let me try it like that, maybe that person will be more responsive. Like, don't just stick to one way, find different ways, apply different ways until you find something that might work for them to respond back to you, right? There's no magic pill, because every person is unique. So to personalize it for the person that you're with. And by doing that, you're showing that you love them, because you're willing to put energy and time for them, because you're willing to do that specifically for them.
I like that. Jillian, what does communication look like to you?
I like the saying, you catch more flies with honey. And I think just dealing with human beings, from a human perspective, that we all have feelings. And when you have something, women tend to, I think as we get older, we learn to be more direct, and we realize that, especially dealing with men, we just need to say something directly. But of course, we are taught to be sugar and spice and everything that's nice when we're growing up, right? And so we're not taught to be confrontational in any way. So much so that we don't even know how to bring something up with somebody. Especially dealing with women, we'll sidestep things to the point where you're just not even a friend with a woman anymore. You don't ever directly say anything. So, but with men, I think you do have to be direct and just say it, but just do it with honey, and just be nice, just be sweet about it. Let the person know that you really care about them, that you're not blaming them for anything. But that you do have to honor yourself. You're not a doormat. You don't swipe these things under the rug. People don't respect you if you don't address issues. It doesn't mean that there's always a problem. I mean, if there's always a problem, that's a problem. But if there is an issue, don't sweep it under the rug. Honor yourself, be sweet about it. Let the person know what it is, so that at least they can have a chance to solve it, and you can have a chance to evolve your relationship.
I love it. And I feel like right now I'm going to be the bad guy. Like, I feel like I'm going to be like the wild Joker card right here.
Throw it on the table.
I believe in communication, but all your answers were great, but I believe in it to a small misconception. And I'm going to say why. You guys all talked about being able to talk to your partner, being able to express to them, which are all great points. But one thing that I've learned recently, and I think this is probably going to help me in my next relationship, is when you express yourself to them, are they even in the space to even receive your emotions right now? They might have had a rough day. They might have other stuff going on that just hasn't been discussed yet. So when you come and let's say you say, well, I have these issues with you, I have this, they might not even be in the space to even receive your emotions. So that can also be a problem within itself. So I think a lot of times when you are going to communicate, you have to ask the question, are you in the space right now for me to discuss something with you?
Yeah.
I
used to make the mistake when I was married that I would always bombard my husband with things as soon as he walked in the door. And of course he always pushed back. And I used to think he was such an asshole. And of course, that was just a lack of maybe giving him a half an hour to at least decompress the poor guy before I bombarded him with things, So, that's
something
just one little tip, to what you're saying. Know who you're dealing with and when are the right times to bring them up. So I was definitely missing the mark on that.
Yeah, that helped me understand that, because imagine if both people are working, right? And then you come home, one person's had an awesome day and then the other person's had like a bad day, and you're just like da 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 da, and like you're pretty much invading their space without even asking, without even saying like, hey, like I have some things on my mind, either about work or like enhancing the performance of the relationship, date nights, whatever, to say, are you in a space to even receive this right now? Because you might give it to them and it literally goes over their head. Then a couple days later, you get mad and say, well, hey, I told you this a couple days ago, and you literally just kind of like went past your head. So I think they need to be in a space to receive it, because then whatever you tell them can be applied within that moment, either enhancing the relationship or just even them being your rock, because they might not even be in the space to be your rock in that moment. And some people get mad at that. So I don't know if there's anything that you guys want to add to that before we move on to a new topic.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
You say you're going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be a bad guy to that bad guy. I'll be honest. I mean, all of that is kind of BS, just a little bit. Because let me break it down, like how, let's just lay it down, like role play it real quick. So I had a bad day. I come home. And if we're talking about communication and growing in a seasoned relationship, I think far as communication goes, you're going to say, "Hey, how was your day?" Oh, okay. Well, when you get a minute, I would like to talk to you about something. It doesn't have to be now, but when you get a minute.
Okay.
It's nothing like it takes 2 seconds, and I would love that. Oh, you're not bothered. Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Mhm.
And I'll come home, go into my office, write my music if I have to, roll up if I have to. And she if she has to remind me again, I'll even feel more bad. Oh, she wanted to talk. Okay, I got you. But most of the cases I'm in my head, okay, what does she want to talk about? So usually I'll just come like, hey, what's up? And if I say my day was bad, how was your day? My day was actually upset. I would expect for my spouse to, break down my day. And then, okay, I'm glad you talked about your day today, but relationship is 24 hours. I'm sorry. You're always going to have work problems. You're always going to have money issues. You're always going to have, and talk to me about it right away. Don't wait a day. Don't wait 2 weeks. Because if we can knock it out right the park and it don't have to happen, whatever we discuss right now, we can make a plan where it don't happen again. For us, you wait a week, 3 days to tell me, it's just going to snowball and the pressure's going to turn into passive aggressive, and next thing you know, the issue is a lot bigger than what we don't even know what it's about. So
And I will add something. When I mean asking somebody, like, are they in a space, doesn't mean a week. 100%. I agree with you. If it waits like a week, then no. But giving them a chance to kind of like regress from work or like whatever been on their mind gives
for
them a
sure.
chance to receive whatever it is you tell them. And I love the fact that you said a relationship is 24/7. And people don't realize that. Like, it's cluelessness, but I'm sure that the ladies want to chime in. So Christelle or Jillian, either one of you can go first.
I'm good on that topic.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like if you're you've been in a relationship for a real long time, then you kind of know where that person's at pretty quickly. Let's say if they had a rough day, you're like, how was your day? You'll know right away. So you can pick you pick your time. You say, hey, I know this is, they're having a rough day. They're having a really rough moment right now. Probably this is not the best time to talk to them. So I'll wait till they're a little cooled off a little bit. And when I can see or I can sense that they're more receptive and say, hey, just like Vante was saying, hey, when you have a chance, there's something I want to talk to you whenever you're ready. There's no rush, but when you have a moment, just let me know.
I like that.
I think
like
Vante has the right approach.
Yeah.
I know I was going to be the bad guy.
The bad guy. I'm just not going to get the results you're looking for.
I'm just not going to get the results.
I know my wife, if I'm at work and something happened, like maybe I spent something on the debit card without like, oh, she's going to message me at that moment before I even come home. So by the time I do come home, it's like the conclusion of what we talked about in text, but it's not as blown up as when I come home.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's like instant. It's like, we're going to deal with this. Like,
yeah.
Yes, because you have to. Part of it, you have to. Because they're always going to come up. It's constant.
That's a good way to put it.
It's constant. So the more you can sort them, deal with them, the less you have a pile waiting for you. And that's usually what breaks down the relationship, if you kind of try to always put it aside.
And I think like you said too, how you handle it and how you speak to somebody, because that can take a relationship down real quick if it gets into more of like, if you're communicating angry, and then now every time a problem communicates, you've like set the bar that we can come at each other with anger. And I just don't see, maybe there's a place for it, I don't know, but I just think once you like go there, if somebody does communicate like in an angry way or in an abusive way, if that's not addressed in the moment, then that's like set the bar that's how we're going to deal with things from that point forward. Not to say that can't be changed around, but yeah, I would definitely say if anybody is communicating in an angry way, to check that situation immediately, because that's not the bar that you want to set for future discussions.
I agree. And that goes back on conditions. Like, abusive is a no-no. I don't think anyone should stay in any relationship if anyone's being any type of abusive.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I hold that standard not just to myself, but also the circle around me. If you're being abusive to whoever you are with in your relationship, I will cut you off. You know what I mean? Like I won't even talk to you anymore. I've been in a relationship for 10 years. I have two beautiful daughters, and they have never seen me, or nor have I ever raised my hand or been any type of abusive to my wife. And I think that in a relationship, that has to be a condition. There's no
Yeah.
unconditional about abusive or, any type of really in toxicity at all.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to touch on that actually, and I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like today I'm just like the villain. Don't you think sometimes, and again, you guys can chime in at any time, sometimes when someone says abusive, like let's say, for example, I check my girl, she'd be like, well, you were being abusive, but all I did is check bad behavior. So where do you draw the line?
Where's the abuse?
Well, like, let's just say I say to my girl, for example, I say, look, I don't like the way you behave. Like, can you please knock that off? But she sees that as abusive language because we all communicate differently, right? So that's the thing. I am not ever an advocate for abuse, but I'm saying we have to draw the line of what it looks like. Like, we really do, because some people will just say they abused me when all they did is tell you to stop doing what you were doing.
That sounds like more of a problem of you were communicating what you need, but that person just isn't, maybe is not. Let's just take the example. Okay, let's just take the example that maybe you were dating a girl and she was showing too much cleavage when you're out. You don't like that.
Yeah.
All the guys are looking at her boobs. And so now you have to tell her. And so you told her directly, nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that you're going to have to possibly try to teach this woman who doesn't understand that you don't like that. So then that means she's maybe not dateable for you. You know what I mean? I know I kind of switched it
No,
up.
but that's what I
No,
mean. Like,
you're
Yeah.
totally right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we
I-
have to draw the line of what it looks like, because, like, again, like a lot of times, like some people, well, this person abused me when all they did is correct bad behavior.
I think I don't think there should be a spectrum of abuse. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think abuse, there's a definition of abuse. I just Googled it, and
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
The best one I have here, it says cruel and violent treatments of a person or an animal, says here.
Okay.
Or to use something to bad effect or bad intentions or bad purpose or misuse. So what you're saying, addressing the problem, I don't think is abuse. Even saying maybe knock it off might be abrasive, like language.
Okay.
I don't even think that's necessarily abuse. Verbal abuse is a thing.
It is.
I think we all know what verbal abuse
We
looks
do.
like.
We do. Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, but then the question that comes to my head is then what does it mean about the person if they're saying that you're abusive for, telling them to knock it off, right? Like just to say, hey, like I don't appreciate your behavior. What does it say about that person if they're then saying that you're being abusive?
Well, I think that goes to, sorry, what's your name again?
It's Christelle.
That's Christelle.
And
Yes.
then
Jillian.
it's Jillian. I think it goes back to what Jillian. Well, Jillian actually said was you have to teach that person.
This what?
You have to teach a person like how to act around you. Or,
Yes.
I think that's true to a degree in the
Set the
beginning of
standards.
in a beginning of a relationship. But
Yes.
I think if you're to the point where you have to say, this is abusive or what, I think at that point a relationship should be over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no fixing or teaching.
Never know coming back from that.
Unconditional. I mean, you can if if you learn from it and you come back, but you can't learn while you're being abusive. You got to let that person go. And as far as a victim of being abused, as far as me, I was abused as a child and seen it growing up. So like, as far as like what's abuse, and I don't think there should be a spectrum, or I don't think anyone should have to deal with anyone that's abused. Life is already hard, and then you're trying to connect with someone with an affectionate relationship So see, I think about me and my relationship. I don't just love my wife. I admire her so much. And it's hard to disrespect or abuse something or someone you admire. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We can touch on that. You know what? I agree with you. When you admire somebody like your partner, I think just in your mental mind, you know that there's lines that you're not willing to cross. Like if I just like somebody, I think within that spectrum, you're gonna cross some lines. But when you have that like desire, like I know that they don't like this, I'm not gonna do it or even bring it around them.
Totally. And I think sometimes it's not just in younger relationships, but sometimes when it comes to the desire, sometimes people get together for the wrong reasons, and maybe the desire isn't there, and they're causing chaos to bring a little drama, which they think will bring a little bit of, something to the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So desire is definitely an important thing for sure.
Sure.
And yes, for sure, when you have desire and respect for the person, you're just automatically going to treat them better, hands down.
Well, no, I'm really glad that I was able to have the conversation with you guys about abuse, and I'm glad that we were able to open it up, because again, and the reason why I opened the box is because some people could be narcissistic, and they might not even know that they're narcissistic, or they might have high narcissistic tendencies, and to them that might be a norm.
Until somebody says something to them.
Yeah, but to you, you're like, well, you're an abusive individual. Like you're not good. But to them, they could just have a higher level of narcissism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, she has a friend right now who's in an abusive situation, and she said, "Mom, what do we do? How do we deal with this?" And I said, you do keep putting the pressure on her, and you do keep letting her know. Because sometimes when you're in that situation, because I know I was in one, and it took people to not blow smoke up my ass. They told me the truth to get out. And it took my sister saying, "Jillian, if you don't get out of that relationship, I am going to disown you. Do you understand me?" And I'm like, holy shit, this is bad. I can't let it get to the point where my family is going to disown me. So people need to stand up, and they do need to put pressure on, because it's important for that person to understand, because when they're in that toxic relationship, they're so toxically bonded emotionally to that person. It's really hard to get out until other people start letting them know it's not right. It's not right. And actually I'm gonna walk away, because I'm not gonna watch this anymore, And I never used to think, oh, is that how you deal with it? But now I do think, yeah, you do have to be, somebody from the outside has to be strong, and somebody has to step in and let them know it's wrong.
I agree with you. You speak in so many facts. And that goes to the point in the beginning of the podcast where we talk about where I really believe that everyone should work on themselves. And it's very cliche, and young people don't want to hear it, but you have to work on yourself and love yourself first, because there's people out here preying on those that are not healed, that has trauma, and that's the best way that they can survive, because they need that. They're narcissistic, they have ill intentions, and they're showing it through love and affection in a very wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So
and those people count on people that don't want to work on themselves.
Yes,
they count on you not doing your inner work.
And I'm glad that you guys said that. And see, that was what I really wanted to bring up, because when you're not healed, or you don't focus on that, it's a wild jungle out here, and people will prey on your emotions. People will take advantage of you. And that's the thing. That's what I was saying. The ability to walk away is the highest self-love, because when you're able to say, I've told you multiple times that I'm not, me, for example, I do not do yelling. If there is yelling within a relationship, I check out and I'm out. I will give you a warning, but then I'm out, because I grew up in a household where there was constant yelling and berating. So if I see any of that tendencies, just naturally, I'm like, there's a low level of disrespect here.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be abusive if it's not checked. And I will try to check it in the most loving and gentle way. But if it is not well received, I check out and I leave the relationship.
Yeah.
I got a
And
question for you.
and from an evolved place to I think that moving from, maybe sometimes we can be selfish when we're younger, and then like myself, hey, I'll admit I used to be really selfish, and now I really care about being a good person. I really care about giving. But I'm also very aware that if anybody is going to take advantage of my kind heart, they don't get it anymore. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
be a giving person, be a loving person, show up how you would in a relationship so they know who you are. But if anybody wants to take advantage of that, walk the hell away.
Vante, you had a question for me.
Yeah, I do actually. I'm getting some vibes from you,
Shoot.
Mr. Your new name is Manuel.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna speak for you here. I believe that you have a set of. I'm busy. It's my youngest. You have a set of rules and boundaries and expectations as a person in a relationship, and I would like to hear some of them. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. There is yelling in my relationship, but it's not too like, oh, you're yelling at me. All right, I'm gonna walk away. As long as my wife's not like my wife is from Thailand, so she may yell to try. She don't need to yell, but as long as we're in the crib, we're not like in the middle of aisle 6 in Walmart, and she's around. She's just expressing herself. But I want to hear some. I want to hear maybe everyone's like standards or things.
Well, when I mean the yelling, I mean yelling in a way where it's disparaging to one's character.
Okay.
Now, because people raise their voices, nobody's perfect here. I'm not an angel. None of us here are angels.
Of course.
But when you raise your voice in a disparaging way that belittles me because you don't know how to communicate with me, that's a no for me. That doesn't work for me within a relationship scaling context. Another thing that I don't do if we're in a relationship, and this is just me, I can't speak for everyone else. I'm not willing to entertain someone or a female that has a lot of guy friends. I'm just not. I've done it before. It didn't end well. The girl left me for a guy friend. It's just not something that I'm willing to do. I'm not asking her to cut off her guy friends. I'll say, hey, if that's what you want, that's no problem. But I don't think I'm the guy for you. Right? So I won't deal with that. I don't do boss babes. I don't. And it's not that I have a problem.
What's a boss babe? I'm so sorry. What's a boss babe?
That masculine energy, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a boss babe. Like, you know what I mean? Like that very raw energy.
Goodness.
I talk about more like a feminist, like I'm a feminist, like a man basher.
Oh,
yeah. Like you know what I mean? Like I just don't like boss babe is just very masculine energy.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with it. You can't have two masculine energies in a relationship. Like, yes, we have both, but you know what I mean? But I can't deal with the hyper masculine. And there's certain tendencies that boss babe women come with that I'm not very comfortable with. You know what I mean? So like when you're dealing with like a boss babe, try telling her what to do. She's like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you. You know what I mean? So there's just certain tendencies that I don't like with those type of quality of women. Some guys can handle it.
However, she could be a multi-millionaire and she could be super feminine with you. So it's all
exactly
about how she is with you, not necessarily a boss babe is in the sense that she's making money, but if she's feminine with you and is receiving,
can she check it at the door?
Yeah.
If she could check it at the door, we're cool.
All right, so you expect your women. I mean, you're in a hot seat. All right, your head is on fire right now. Letting you know. So you expect a woman to be 100% submissive.
Not all the time because nobody's perfect.
Let's say 80%.
Yeah, like 80-20 rule. Yeah,
80-20.
And when you say submissive, what do you mean by that?
She trusts my leadership. It's as simple as that. I know I'm going to sound like a bad person when I say that, but hearing all your guys' stories, especially Vante's, because I've known him for a long time, his wife trusts his leadership. She trusts him to lead the household. She knows that he's only going to make decisions that are only going to benefit the house, that are going to benefit them as a family unit. I've watched this guy grow. I've watched him.
If 20% of the time she doesn't, he's probably okay with that.
Exactly.
But if I can interject, in you're 100% right. I hope she at least trusts his
Go ahead.
to lead the household. But yeah, you know, wifey also I'm still thinking about the word boss babe, but I wouldn't
like what?
I wouldn't necessarily call my wife a boss babe, but
no, your wife.
I tell her, listen, I tell her all the time. I say, you know, get your driver's license. This is her last year in school. She's actually going to Israel for 3 weeks, starting next week, to finish off her classes. And she's on the dean's list. But I tell her things like, get your driver's license. Make sure you open up a bank account. Make sure you do things this way, so that if I'm not here one day, you're still good. You know, you still suffice. I don't expect my wife to listen to me 100% of the time. And I guess that's sometimes where we clash, but I really love that when she does want something, she'll fight. She'll fight for it. Like, do I want her going to Israel? But if I say, hey, I don't want you going to Israel, what's that gonna look like for me? You know, I try to be same as well. And you know, I think it's very
Well, I'm going to interject.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Last sentence. I think it's very dominant for a man to allow himself to be submissive for his wife as well.
Yes, men are just very submissive in different ways. More as in the sense of protecting the house physically, you know, making sure that the family unit is always okay. We just submit in different ways, but men do submit. And I do want to interject on what you said. And after that, I actually want to ask Crystal a question, because you've been very quiet this one. See, I would say with you and your wife, there's a level of understanding. You don't want her to go to Israel, but think about it. You do late night shows sometimes and concerts, and there's women around, and she could say, well, I don't really want you doing concerts with these groupies in the front row.
That's true. That's very well true.
But you see, there's a level of understanding between both of you, because she trusts your leadership, and then you also trust her. So it doesn't create problems.
I think just plainly, there's just trust with me. Like,
yeah, there's just trust.
It's just trust. Yeah.
If there wasn't any trust, and you wouldn't be out there doing that, it'd be a disaster. There'd be no peace.
Deeper than that, if there wasn't any trust, I would not still be married.
Right.
There you go.
You know?
So, Christelle, go ahead. You want to say something? You've been itching
I
to
just wanted to say, instead of looking at it as submissive, could you not look at it as supportive? You know,
well,
their
see,
position, because
that's
submissive means like you don't really want a super submissive woman, because then she doesn't have a backbone, and you know, who wants to be with somebody who's a pushover all the time.
And I agree, but see, that's the thing. A lot of times, and we'll talk about the word submissive, I understand some people don't like it. They look at it, they're like, oh, the word submissive. But again, it's only negative to the condemnations that you add to it. Yes. See, that's the thing. When I talk about submission, I talk about it from a peaceful, loving way. Not like I'm a dictator, do what I say. If you don't do what I say, I'm leaving you. I talk about it from a peaceful, daunting, present part of the feminine way. So when I mean that, when I look at that, when a woman's very feminine and she's very submissive, it's just her natural nature. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, she's gentle, she's kind. You know, when she interacts with me, and I'm not saying that she doesn't have a backbone. Of course she has a backbone. There'll be times when she'll tell me, I don't really like this decision, but I picked you. I wanted your commitment. We're committing to each other. And I know that whatever decision you make, even though I don't like it, I know you're always going to do what's best for this household. You would never do anything to compromise me, the kids, or the family unit in general. So that's what I mean in that entirety.
Just She can be cooperative. You want a woman that's cooperative.
Yeah,
But also, if something's not right, because nobody's perfect, that she is going to say something, and she should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, you know what, Jillian? That's a really good word.
Mm-hmm. Cooperate.
Exactly.
I don't think women like the word submissive.
Yeah, I don't think no one. I think men likes the word submissive. Michael likes the words.
Michael likes the word submissive. You know what? And again, we'll get into it a little bit. It's not that I like the word. It's just I grew up in a Christian background, and the word submissive is just part of like wifely duties within the Bible, like when it talks about husband duties and wifely duties. So I've just kind of, I guess, I come into that
from the biblical.
Yeah, from a biblical.
So wait. So like, don't yell at me, or if I'm hungry, if I ask you to make something tonight, you gonna make something tonight type.
Yeah.
That's Bible. That's Bible and Christian. Like I grew up in
yeah.
as well.
So
because that's what the Bible means as submissive.
But see, that's the thing. I wouldn't say, well, hey, if you don't make me a plate of food, there's problems. But see, a loving wife.
But there's no ultimatum. There's no ultimatum. If you're talking about submitting.
Yeah. But see, a loving wife for me, and this is just me, is gonna want to do that for her husband.
No, Michael. Okay. Michael, slow down, Michael.
Go.
Because we have to talk. All right. So women are not robots. So
no.
Some days, of course, you're gonna want to cook. You're gonna want to cook for your wife. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But she's not gonna want to cook for you every day, bro. And not in 2023.
Nope. And unless somebody's out here in a very, 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 very traditional, but most relationships aren't super traditional like they used to be. So you've got both people really having to take on all the roles. It's like, okay, babe, you're gonna cook. I'm gonna go change the kids' diapers. Okay, you're gonna go do this, and I'm gonna do this. So there are some traditional relationships that are still out there, but so many of them, our roles have just been we have to take on everything now. Everybody does.
I want to touch on that because you're absolutely right, because we also have to look at lifestyle too, right? Yeah. And again, I'm glad that you guys both brought that up, because depending on if both parties are working, of course, the submissive levelness might change. If she worked an 8-hour and you worked an 8-hour, she might not have time to come home and cook you a plate of food. You might have to jump in there and be Chef Ramsay.
Yeah.
But again, it really depends, because as Jillian also mentioned, there's still some traditional relationships. There's not many, because I know some guys, their wives don't work. They make so much money that their wives don't have to. So every time the guy comes home, the food's already made. The kids have their food, and they're just waiting for the dad to walk through the door. And it's not like he asked, it's because she wants to, and she has the time and availability to do so. So that's what I'm saying. I do respect like both of your views, because we also have to look at lifestyle.
Definitely.
When we're coming together. If you're coming together to somebody, what is the lifestyle going to look like?
Yeah, totally. That's a whole different subject.
Because if we were to take it off the table, and I'll ask Vante a question. Your music career takes off. You become next Drake. Drake moves out of the way. Bye-bye, Mr. Drake. Vante takes over. Would you want your wife to work?
I don't want her to work now. Let alone I
don't want to work now.
But she does. She does. She has a part-time job, and she goes to school on top of being a mom.
But I mean, like at that point, if you took over, like let's say you were in that position and you were like, look, you really don't have to work.
I'm gonna be honest with you. School. No. I mean, to be honest, it'll be up for her, but wifey's gonna have to maybe create a business, figure out what she like to do. And she has a lot of likes and interests, so I'm sure she might take the money, invest it into herself. Wifey is not the type to stay home all day. She likes nice things. She likes to get it for herself. Don't get me wrong. I make bread, and I pay the rent, and I pay the groceries. So the money that she makes, it's her money.
And see, I like that you said that, because see, that's the thing. Like if we were
she doesn't have to, she wants to.
She wants to. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you were to take, I'm not saying like a woman should stay at home, but like let's say in your situation, if you were like, as I said, superstardom here, and you were to take work off the table and say, babe, you don't have to work. Those passions you wanted to go explore them freely. Do whatever you want. you know, like it leaves more opportunity, not just for her to stay at home, but for her to explore more of herself, for her to go out and be self-discovery, for all those things. So the mentality of because I know some guys are just, I just want her to stay at home in the kitchen. No, I think you should create an environment for her to at least maybe not work, where she can explore a lot of things, you know, hobbies, interests, and all those other things.
But you want her to be home by 7 so the stove can be hot, right?
Well, depending on our schedules, because I might not be home at 7, depending as an entrepreneur. It really depends.
And you know what? There's some women out there that's what they want. They want to be at
so
home.
true.
They want to be with their kids. They don't want to work. So find out who, and listen, I mean, it's like find out who you're dealing with, but let's just be honest here. What you think you want at 20 might not be the same thing you want at 30. And trust me, as a woman, when she hits her 30, she's going to go, whoa, what's happening with me? Like I'm changing, you know, I'm not, I don't think the way that I used to think. A lot of things are different, you know? So it's an interesting.
I think it's just experiences, because like a lot of women that I know who are 40 are like, I just want a guy to like come into my life and I don't want to work. Like they're just tired. We're
getting tired out here.
They're getting tired. They're like, I don't want to work, not because they're lazy, but because they want to step more into that feminine role, being at home, taking care of the kids, starting a side business, like doing something that's more aligned, because women are very social creatures. So again, it's to each own individual, right? And sometimes that could make or break a relationship. I've met some girls, we aligned, but then they were like, just so you know, Michael, I'm not sitting in front of a stove. I'm like, where did that come from? They're just like, I'm not sitting at home. If that's what you expect from me, this is not going to work. And we talked about it.
My ex-husband knew I wasn't Betty Crocker, but I did like to bake sometimes. You know, I wasn't a huge, it's so weird, it was strange. My dad was the cook in the family. My dad loved making food. My mom cooked sometimes, but my dad, he was the one that did all of the cooking. And then, you know, my sister, she's a cook, but it just was never my thing. It just was never my thing. But, you know, as I get older, I do wish I had more time to nourish my daughter better. I will fully admit that I wish I had more time to be at home. You know, that will be one of my regrets, is that I was there when they were babies, and when they were little, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Well, see, I'm glad that you
got divorced. So, you know, then your mom and dad and everything else. And so, you know, that does make me sad. I will not lie. It makes me sad. I'm not home more for my
I'm glad that you brought that up, because when I talk about the women being at home, you see who benefits more? The children do, because they get an active parent. They get a parent that's there 24/7, maybe not 24/7, but you guys know what I mean, to keep them away from certain, you know what I mean, stuff that's out there. So a lot of times when people say, well, Michael, you just want a girl to sit at home, I'm like, but you don't understand. If she's at home, the kids get a present parent. If the kids get a better parent, we get more productive children that go out into society and do greater things. It's not just about me. It's about what's best for the relationship as a whole, especially when there's children involved.
If the woman stays in home.
Well, Jillian just mentioned it. Who suffered?
Yeah, I mean, no, on the personal, sorry, Jillian. Yeah, on the personal situation, yes. And that's pretty tough. But most importantly here, I think when we're talking about having the kids involved and who's home with the kids, I'm sure maybe wifey does want to stay home with the kids, but as far as the economy goes, we have to work.
Yeah.
And the kids go to school during the day. So
when they turn 5, they're going to school. I was lucky. I was able to stay home with them until they went to school, and then I started working. My mom was back at work when I was 2 months old.
Wow.
But my Oma and Opa looked after me, so I mean they had live-in care. But
wow.
You know, I mean we're a dual income society now.
Yeah, is there anything that you want to add, Christelle?
No, it's just I know some parents, because like I stayed home with my daughter because I wanted to raise her. I didn't want strangers raising her. I wanted to be the influence on her, because the first 5 years are the most important times to shape the individual, like the child. But I do know a lot of couples where the mom wants to stay with their kids. Some do, some don't. The ones that normally do is they are willing to take a lifestyle cut. They're willing to do what it takes to be there with their children, and having less material is worth the interaction and the time spent with the child.
I like that.
So it depends on where you put where you put the importance.
Yeah. So you decide you're not going to buy that new car, so you don't have a car payment.
Yeah, so you might have to get rid of a car. You may have to downsize your house. You may have to go with less, essentially, material-wise, so that you can have more to be with your child or your children.
I feel like Vante wants to say something.
Yeah. I 100% agree. When I first came to Canada in 2014, as you know, Michael, I couldn't work, legally at least. So wifey was the only one that could have worked. But they gave me the ample opportunity to spend every single day with my oldest daughter. And I feel like we have the greatest bond because of it. With my youngest daughter, it's kind of the opposite. Wifey stayed home for maternity leave as I went to work. And I feel like the bond is a bit different between my oldest and my youngest because of the change there. So thank you for that. That's great.
I appreciate you guys sharing that, because like you see, like I don't have children, right? But I think about, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss baseball games. I don't want to miss any sporting events. I don't want, because like you guys are all sharing your stories of how prevalent you guys were in your children's lives and the impact, or your stories where, hey, I wish I could have been there a little more. For me, it's like, okay, like I don't ever want to have that feeling of saying, I think I might have missed out on some things.
Well,
I hear that.
You'll have to choose. There's going to be a choice point. And when the child's there's some choices that are going to need to be made. And maybe there's some choices you can't make because it's beyond you being able to make it, right? So it all depends where you are at that time, who you're with, what your situation, all of those things will have a role to play.
Well,
and sometimes
I think that's what's interesting about all of us, because we're all entrepreneurs here, all of us, which is interesting, anybody on the live. And I think with all of us being entrepreneurs, we're not just striving for the money. We're obviously striving to make change, influence, and inspire. But it's also to have a lifestyle that's more flexibility, so maybe those around us can get more of us. Maybe the world can get more of us, right? So for me, I just try to look at it from a loving point of view, of more of, hey, I want to put myself in this position so I have more flexibility to either do speaking gigs or to spend more time with people that I love, because we have to admit, we're not here forever. The window's limited. The window could close tomorrow. So I try to maximize the time that I have now, but the end goal is to create more flexibility.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything that anybody wants to add before we close up shop, because you guys all gave fantastic stuff.
I'm sure we could talk.
So, so what's the verdict? Peace or versus, or no, peace or perfection?
I got the answer. Peace and perfection within yourself is the most important.
Yes.
And even then, it won't be peace or perfect. But you got to start with yourself before you try to start it in any other type of, or look for it in any other relationship.
Yes. Well, it's the mirrors, right? Like the external world is a mirror reflecting you.
Yes.
So if you can't find peace within yourself, you'll never find it outside of yourself.
Ooh, and I got one more. Everyone should have deal breakers.
Everybody should have what?
Yeah.
Everyone should have deal breakers.
Deal breakers, of course. There should be a line that's drawn somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. And when it is passed, you reinforce it. But you got to set the line.
Facts.
Set the line.
Jillian, peace or a perfect partner?
Just peace, love, and joy, and a partner that I can work with, that is cooperative, and easy to work with. Not perfect, but easy to work with most of the time.
I have a rule. Okay. This is whatever you want to see more out of your partner, that means you need to bring more of that forward.
I agree.
So if you're seeking for more cooperation, then you need to cooperate more.
Exactly.
If you're looking for more peace, then you need to be more peaceful with them.
Love it. And if they are not that way back to you, that's a deal breaker.
Well, then you have the line. You go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You draw the line.
And chances are okay. Chances are okay, but it's still a deal breaker nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
See, I'm gonna give like an answer is I want a peaceful partner, but I'm not gonna be codependent on them giving me peace. What happens is I want them to create their own peace, and I create my own peace, and we bring that to the relationship, and the relationship is the prize itself. Because a lot of times people are very codependent for someone to give them peace, but nobody's perfect, as Vante said, if we roll it back. Because if you're like, well, you're not being peaceful right now, but they could have just had a stressful day, a fight with their friend, a fight with a parent. So at the end of the day, like, or whatever the day looks like, I want them to always understand, yes, I might have gotten into a fight with my mom or my dad or whatever, but I always want to be peaceful when I come back to my partner, and I want to bring peace there. So there's more of an understanding instead of a codependency on getting peace from them.
Just like you said, be the peace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that we're closing up, and I actually got to leave at 8:30. But yo, Michael, I feel like you know what you want. I feel like you want to take care of a woman.
I do.
You're a strong personality. I feel like you are a bit dominant in who you are and what you want out of a relationship. I feel like there's a lot of women out there that would gravitate towards a man, you know, that would take care of them in a way where it's less effort for them, as long as they, you know, come home and you know, do whatever you have based on your own relationship. So what's the real problem here, bro?
We just need to send women his way, I think.
You know what? What you said about the dominance scares a lot of them off. You're absolutely right. It does. But it's more of, as I said, for me, and again, I can only speak for me. I know that I'll be in the right relationship when I meet a woman who says, look at how great this man is. Look at his goals and dreams. He's crushing it. He's taking control. I want to follow this man. Wherever he's going, I want to follow. And that's something between like me and God that I said, if I meet a woman and she tells me that I want to follow you, then I know that that's my confirmation that that's my person.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, you're talking about how you want someone to elevate you.
Yeah.
And so getting back to what I was saying is for you to support that with someone else, find ways to elevate them.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want them to say he's a great man, I want to be with him for X, Y, and Z, you need to make sure that you're expressing that to your partner. You're a great woman because of X, Y, and Z.
I agree with you. And the thing is, though, I feel like I already do that because anybody that I interact with knows that my energy is just off the wall, that I'm going to bring understanding. I'm going to bring like all this level of stuff. So I always try to make sure that everybody I interact with, that even if it's a short window, the interaction was like, well, I learned something from that guy.
But that's your that is your business or your external person, but your partner is going to see the other person.
For sure. The person outside of that.
Parts to you, as they get to see all of the other parts.
100%.
Right.
So, and I'm glad you asked the question, Vante. You're like, what's the problem? Where's the girl?
What's really going on here?
Yeah, where's the girl, bro?
Next time we're on here, we should all do a couples.
What's a couples?
A couples show, like we all
bring
come
our
on
partner.
Here. I know Michael and Jillian.
Yeah.
Are single.
No, Jillian has somebody.
Yes, but it's a long distance relationship. He's in another country.
We could still include him.
That's okay. This is all virtual. Yeah,
okay.
Of course. Why not?
Yeah.
No one left behind.
Yeah. No, I would be down to do a couple show.
Okay, so we just waiting on Michael to find someone special first.
Yeah,
He can be
I
the
would-
fifth wheel. He can be the fifth
You
wheel.
know what?
It could be a first date.
And yes. No,
I'm
we
gonna
need him.
be honest.
Yeah.
Where you guys were all lucky. Well, I forget how Jillian met her guy. You guys are lucky. You, Christelle, and Vante are lucky that you guys met someone before online dating happened.
No. We
Yeah.
met online.
No, but I meant like Tinder and all those other platforms makes it a lot more difficult
That
to
was all
date
going
now.
on, yeah. But that was all
Like
going
it makes
on
it so harder to date
But-
now with those platforms.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that.
When I met my husband, it was in a club, and and he asked for my number, and I wrote it on his arm. The way we didn't even have a cell phone.
So I'm going to the club then. I'm
W-
going to the club then.
You got to go to the club. You got to start.
That's where I'm going.
You got
going
to
to
go
the
back
club
to the
then.
basics, bro.
Yeah, I'm going back to the basics then. I'm going to the club.
You're dating at 60. You gotta get back to the club.
Yeah, I'm going back to the club then. That's where we're going. If you guys really want to do a couples thing, hey, talk to your couples and I'll make it happen. Like, no joke. I will make it happen.
No, I'm very serious. I'm very
Yeah,
me
serious.
too.
I
Yeah.
would like to see that happen.
I will
Yeah, my
give you
partner
guys
would do it. We joked about it the other day. He's like,
I
"Hey,
will
if you
give
ever
you
want me,
guys-
like,
Yeah.
I'll do it if you ask me
I will
to do
give
it."
you guys the platform to do it. I will set everything up, the
But
banner,
but
and
the
everything.
clause is you have to bring someone to. It could be a brand new relationship or whatever. It could be a first date.
It could be
first date.
or it could be a ex. No,
You know what? That sounds a bad idea.
Oh my
And
goodness.
just teasing,
OMG.
just teasing.
Let me tell you a quick story before we go about my mom. So
Yeah.
my mom's turning 80 this year, and she hangs around with a group of women. They're called the 60 chicks. Okay, they
Okay.
haven't let the 60s go. 20 years later, they're still the 60s chicks. And let me
Okay.
tell you, this is how they get together when their husbands die. The one goes to a coffee shop. She sees a guy. She thinks, "Oh, I like that guy." She went up and talked to him and asked him for coffee, and they've been together ever since. So
Wow.
you know, things change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are serious, as I said, we'll do a couple show, and maybe I'll bring a situationship on. But
Sure. At least it's
You didn't like
someone
the ex?
someone who dang, I hate to say this, but someone you're intimate with.
yeah, okay, yeah.
That's the best way I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't bring a bestie on here trying to pose as that's your situation.
Well, this situationship, I met her when I was 21 and she was 40, so now she's in her 50s, and we have a little situationship. But yeah,
Okay,
Wow.
that's valid.
It's intimate.
I've been intimate with her. It still counts.
Okay. Because we're gonna have a lot of questions for that person. That's all.
Done. I'm done. No problem. I'll talk to her about it tonight.
I say
You need to get a matching orange chair.
Unless,
my goodness.
unless I get a partner before then. But yeah, you know what? You guys want to do a couple show? Let's do it.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right. Well, you guys all have a fantastic evening. Look, everybody, if you want to follow any of these guys, their social media is down below. Please follow them for the work that they do, the value that they offer to the space, either in entertainment, dating, relationships, whatever, right? It's very rare that we get to have crazy platforms like this together. So thank you guys for the hour of the time in 30 minutes. I love it. I learned something. Maybe there's some adjustments that even Michael has to make. I learned that from this podcast. There's some adjustments that I need to make, maybe.
One thing you can count on, you'll always need to make adjustments.
Yeah, I learned that today. I might have to make adjustments here. As Vante says, where's your girl? I might need to make some adjustments.
What's really going on here? No.
Yeah.
Just some shout outs. I was looking at chat the whole time.
Of course.
So I should have been a little bit more interactive, but shout out to Mac, shout out to Muzi, shout out to PH and Kitty. There was some feedback. Let's see. Muzi said W podcast. Mac says this podcast is a W. This podcast should be for all ages and all other platforms. Max also said they should do a podcast for kids 12 to 17. And I think that's true.
Yeah.
A lot of us,
Yeah.
if we learned during that age bracket, it would have saved a lot of us problems.
Yes.
I'd probably be married by now.
Yeah, so shout out to the chat. This is your chat, by the way. This is your
And I like it because,
yeah.
again, like someone here says he sounds like he's a goated guy. I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, Muzi, yeah, you're goated, greatest of all time. So it just means like your top G.
I'm
like,
trying to, you know what? as I said, and I'll leave the podcast with this. If half of the stuff that we discussed here tonight, if I would have knew this in my 20s, I probably would have been in a marriage by now. Like, no joke. It's just I didn't know any of this stuff. None of this stuff was relevant to me. I wasn't aware of it. And there are no excuses for it. But I think if I was to know this and I was to tell my younger self, if I was to rewind back time, tell him everything that I know, I think younger me would probably be married in his early 30s.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
So-
I agree. I do have to get going because I have a live stream event starting on TikTok now.
Okay, yeah,
so
no problem, guys.
No worries. And
So
it's
I'll
been a
keep
great
you guys in
pleasure,
the loop about the couple stuff.
Yes, please.
Sounds
All right.
good.
And we'll do this again.